The exercise machine that I developed to you. I call it an Isodynamic machine. The advantages that it has is that it incorporates the advantages of an isometric exercise throughout the full range of motion. The benefits of isometric exercise are that you can exert the maximum possible effort on each and every stroke. If you use weights, indoor rubber bands, or any other resistance system, if you use a very heavy weight, you're limited to 1 or 2 repetitions. If you use a light weight, you don't really get any good work or good advantage until you get the last 3 or 4 repetitions when you're using your maximum effort. An isometric type exercise, you're exerting your maximum effort on each and every stroke. This machine uses a passive hydraulic resistance to create the isometric effect. The strokes are completely controlled in either direction, and it's also bidirectional, so that you have a pushing motion in one direction and a pulling motion in the other. I'm going to demonstrate a simple bench press exercise with this machine to show you the advantages that it has. Demonstrate a simple bench press exercise. This is a standard commercially available bench that I'm using. I do have to use a strap to hold myself down into the machine during the pulling phase of this exercise, because the first step is to pull against the resistance. To pull down, you work your biceps and your back. The next stage is to push against the machine, working your triceps and your chest, so that you work corresponding muscle groups alternately. You work it and then you relax it while you work the complementary group, so that it's pull, push, pull, push. And in each case, you can exert the maximum effort that you can expend in each and every stroke, whether it's your first stroke or your 50th stroke. Another advantage this machine has, because it uses passive hydraulic resistance, is that at any time in the stroke, if you feel any pain, if you've overexerted yourself, you've pulled something, there is absolutely no danger in the machine, because you supply the effort. So that, in other words, if you're pulling down, if you're starting the upstroke, you run into problems and you stop, the machine stays exactly where it is. Nothing can fall on you, no rubber bands can snap against you, so that you're not only in no danger of hurting yourself. If you have a small injury, you're not going to make it a big injury. The minute you feel a twinge, you feel any pain, you stop your effort. There's no resistance, there's no force against you. So that it's a situation where somebody can work by himself and not have any fear of injuring themselves, and at the same time, if you've got a slight injury, you're not going to make it a horrendous injury because of having a weight fall on you or rubber bands snap against you. Okay?
That's it?
Yep. This is the heart of the system. These are hydraulic cylinders, and you've got a valve here and a valve in the back there. These valves control the speed of the movement in either direction, and they are completely independent of each other, so that the speed of the movement in one direction is totally independent of the speed of the direction in the other direction, so that you can set it up. If you have a strong muscle group against a weak muscle group, you can balance it out so that you can they're not related to each other at all. The gauge in the middle records or shows you how much force is being exerted. This is the pressure in the system, and it can be converted into the number of pounds that are being applied, so that you have the maximum, you have an indication of how much effort you're exerting. Now these are just manual gauges, manual gauge and manual valves. However, this same information can be recorded digitally and can be processed by a computer. You can have servo systems on the valves so that this information can be recorded on a recorder. It can be processed through the computer so that you can have a history of what you're doing. You could servo control the valve so that you could actually change the speed during the stroke. There's any number of things that you can do. And if you'll watch the gauge, if you go in one direction, read the pressure in that direction. The minute you stop, all the pressure is off. You go in the other direction, you read the force in the other direction, and again, once you stop, all the pressure is off. There is no spring, there is no feedback. Not feedback, there is no spring back in this system. Okay, what I'm going to demonstrate here is that by arranging two of these cylinder systems in a linkage, I create a system where the force that you're working against is always in line with the direction that you're moving. So that if you're doing a circular exercise like a bicep curl, the force is always perpendicular to your arm or in the direction that you're moving. So that as I come up, the force is vertical. As I bring it into me, the force becomes horizontal, so that I have a full range of motion. And I do this without a pivot point, without forcing you to follow the path the machine dictates for you. You follow the path that you choose with your arms, but you still have that force throughout the full range of motion and always perpendicular to the direction. In this case, the first step is a bicep curl. The next step is a tricep extension. And again, the force goes from horizontal to vertical, and you're back at the starting point again. So that by alternating these forces and using this linkage, you get the maximum benefit of the stroke. You can adjust these settings on there so that the smallest child to the strongest person can use it by just merely changing the settings on the valves. You're not adding any weights or removing any weights or any straps or anything. You've got a complete infinite range of forces that you can apply, so that by turning a couple of dials you can go from the weakest person to the strongest person, and they can both receive maximum benefit. As I said before, this is just a manual machine. The addition of electronic sensing on your pressure, on your flow rates, can give you an infinite amount of information that you can use. You can have historical records. You can have a feedback system so that you know if you're a coach and you need players to work out, you can get that information to know whether they really are working out or whether they're dogging it. You have the ability to create complete, accurate information that you can base your programs on, and you can measure your results against. And that's it.